What would get the Republicans to act better and act differently?
To flip the Senate in 2020, and I think then we're in charge. No, but more than that, I think we have to keep talking about the needs of the people that we serve. We're public servants first. We're supposed to be helping people.
The last bipartisan moment that we saw, though, was in the White House with Chuck and Nancy talking to Pence and Trump. How did you feel that Chuck and Nancy did in that famous exchange now between them and the president?
Well, they did very well. Senator Schumer just smiled as he said, "I will shut down government. It will be a Trump shutdown." And Chuck's like, yes, it will, with that very confident smile. And Nancy Pelosi showed that she is tough as nails, that she is an extraordinary person who understands not only the power she brings to the table, but how important the American people's voices are in that meeting.
Was it frustrating to you to see people turning on Nancy Pelosi after she had such a tremendous victory?
It's very frustrating because she's really effective. She's one of the best power players ever in the history of ever. And, she was one of the reasons why we were able to pass Obamacare and actually begin the conversation as healthcare is a right and not a privilege. She was the one. Yeah. She's just effective. And I don't know why people want to change leaders when you have someone who's exceedingly effective, who is getting it done and winning a majority in the House of Representatives.
Well, she's going to be tested. You're going to be tested. Schumer's going to be tested about this coming shutdown over the wall. What is your view? Are you willing to see America's government shut down to stop Trump from getting his wall?
Well, I got to tell you, a shutdown is bad for America, and he should not be trying to shut down the government because there's a lot of public servants and it affects real people. But I have to say this issue of immigration is breaking my heart because a 7-year-old just died in custody. A 7-year-old died in custody of dehydration. That happened in the United States. So I am so upset about what's happening at our border, that mothers and children, parents and children are still being separated, and we are not caring for the least among us. It is outrageous. And so this president's constant focus on this wall, as Nancy Pelosi said, is disturbing. It is not good policy. It is a waste of money, and it's just going to continue to divide this country in a way that is not right. Of course, Democrats believe in border security, but a wall's not going to get you where you need to go.
Well, let's talk about that because, you've evolved on the question of immigration. When you first started out, you were representing more of a rural district, more of a red district, and you were, against sanctuary cities, et cetera. And then over time, your position is different. How do you explain where you were and how you are and where you are now?
It's just opening your heart and meeting with people who are suffering because of terrible immigration policies. When you hear about families being separated, when you hear about the trauma that's created in children's lives, you want to change that. And so when I became senator, I just spent more time talking to my constituents around the state and realized I really didn't have it right. And so I changed. I changed my view, and I really do care about families, and I care about immigrant children as much as I care about my own children, as we should. And that's who we are as Americans.
I love growth, but now where you are, people may wonder if it's wise. I mean, you've been criticizing ICE. You got a lot of Democrats saying abolish ICE. That's almost like saying abolish the police to a lot of people. How do you explain yourself to take a position so critical of a really important function for the government?
So Democrats believe in border security. Customs and Border is actually in charge of border security. ICE was created in 2003 specifically with an anti-terrorism mission. Their job after 9/11 was to make sure that we don't have cross-border terrorism, to deal with human trafficking, to deal with drug trafficking, weapons trafficking. And unfortunately, as 19 ICE agents actually wrote in a letter, because of the family separations at the border, it has so destroyed ICE's reputation that they are no longer able to accomplish their anti-terrorism mission.
People don't trust them, or?
Not only are funds being diverted to removal operations and enforcement operations, but local law enforcement are not trusting them to do the anti-terrorism operations. So 19 ICE agents, heads of the anti-terrorism mission, wrote to the Secretary of Homeland Security and said you need to get rid of ICE because it is so destroyed. So I believe you should disband it. You should take out those 2 missions. Make sure you have a strong anti-terrorism mission that is fully funded, that can stay under Homeland Security. But I believe that immigration should be under the Department of Justice, where you have real judges who deal with asylum. The fact that this president doesn't believe in asylum is an outrage. That is who we are as Americans. We're a country founded by immigrants. Yeah. And so that mission should be dealt with so differently from a much more humanitarian perspective. We are not afraid of refugees.
But if you were a skeptical progressive, you kind of look at you and you say, well, you start off in a different place on immigration. Now you're more progressive on that. On guns, you started off, more kind of pro-Second Amendment. Now you went from having an A to an F from the NRA.
Yes.
People are going to look at you and they're going to say, who is she? Is she growing? Is this authentic, or is she just repositioning for higher office? How do you respond to those skeptical progressives who aren't sure if you mean what you say?
I would just encourage them to look at my heart, because when I became a senator almost 10 years ago, I recognized that there was a lot of things I didn't know. And when I first met a mom and a dad who lost their daughter, Nyesha Pryor Yard, to a stray gun bullet, and met all her classmates, I knew immediately that there was no way I was not going to do something. And so I immediately sat down, and this was almost 10 years ago, with Commissioner Kelly and a lot of moms who had lost their children, and said, what needs to be done? And the thing they wanted me to work on was get rid of gun trafficking, because 90% of the weapons used in crimes in New York State and New York City come from out of state, and nearly all of them are illegal. And so that's why I wrote a gun trafficking bill, and it's why I've been fighting ever since to end trafficking, have universal background checks, make sure we get rid of assault weapons and large magazine clips, and making sure people on the terror watch list can't buy weapons. So common sense stuff that,
that's good stuff.
But if you ask, folks in upstate New York, where I used to represent, do you think these common sense ideas make sense? They would say yes.
Yeah,
and so these are the common sense things we should all be fighting for, and I should have been fighting for them before.
For me, it's sometimes it's painful, because I'm like, these kids were getting shot. It was on TV, even though you weren't a senator.
I should have known.
And you should, yeah. So that's, I think
there's no defense. It's
right.
I should have known, and I should have cared.
I am looking at you as somebody who might be in the White House someday. And I am hoping that you will love me enough to break some news on my show. Is you ain't. Are you running? What's going to happen? Let me know. Give me some ratings.
Well, I'm definitely thinking about it, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm going to think about it over the holidays with my children and my husband, and I will make a decision soon. But I do think it's a moral question, and this is sort of where my faith drives me. I do believe in these moments of great darkness, of great pain, of great suffering, of great division, of great hatred, that all of us are called to do something, to change that, to restore the light, to restore what is good in our world. And I feel very called at this moment to fight as hard as I possibly can to restore that. And whether I do that from the Senate or whether I do that as a presidential candidate is the decision I will make.
Why wouldn't you run? Like, what would stop you from running?
Well, I just need to make sure my family's ready. It is a very arduous and serious process. And I just have to make sure that we all believe in the cause. We believe in the golden rule. We've always believed that you should treat others the way you want to be treated, except for this president, except for this presidency, except for the hate he has spewed constantly.
And he spewed it at you personally.
Yes.
I mean, this would be a very tough thing. I mean, he basically said that you were coming in his office willing to do anything for money.
Yes, he did.
And you fought right back. Is that kind of nastiness, though, a deterrent for you to get in this race?
No, I am not afraid of him, and I'm not afraid of his nasty language and his name calling. I am certainly not afraid of that. And I have a vision for America about what's right in the world. I do believe we should fight for each other's kids as hard as we fight for our own. I do believe that we should restore the golden rule and actually care about one another. And I do believe no matter what block you grow up on, you should have a chance to live up to your God-given potential. And that means good schools, better public schools, debt-free college, things that really make opportunity possible. So I have that vision. Mm-hmm. And so the question is, do I do that from a presidential platform, or do I do it from the U.S. Senate? And that is the question I will decide very soon.
You got Kamala Harris, you got Elizabeth Warren, and you all are thinking about running for president. Does it get awkward at lunch? Is that weird? How does that work?
Well, I'm rooting for all of them because the
That's
truth
not
is
possible.
they have to be better, and they're all better than Trump. So one of us will be the nominee. One of us, of any of the people who are considering it, will be the nominee. And whoever that person is, I will promise you all of us will be helping that person.
We got a poll we should put up at some point. I did notice in that poll that the top three were, I think, Biden, Bernie, and Beto. All, three Bs and all white guys. In a party as diverse as ours, does it worry you to see the top three being white guys?
Yes.
Why? Why?
I aspire for our country to recognize the beauty of our diversity in some point in the future. And I hope someday we have a woman president. I love the fact that Barack Obama was our president for 8 years. I hope more people of color not only aspire and win the presidency, because that's what makes America so extraordinary, that we are all of that. We are everything. And I think a more inclusive America is a stronger America.
Wonderful. Listen, hey, can't say it better than that.